I find it disgusting that the LAPD is slaughtering peaceful protesters on the street. I had 2 friends go to the protest in Beverly Hills a couple days ago, and the protest was peaceful. And so the police showed up with their excessive violent force, shooting rubber bullets and throwing tear gas. Is this what you think of protecting and serving? Because I think it's bullshit. Fuck you, Michael Moore. I refuse to call you an officer or a chief because you don't deserve those titles. You are a disgrace. Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
If the president is taking notes, that is what a
God damn, dog. Yo. Yo, welcome to the Span Report Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Span. This is episode number 299 of the report, y'all. Coming real close, man. Coming real close to episode number 300, man. Episode 300 will be next week, man. And I think it holds a little special meaning to your man, Span, yo, because let's see what's happening next week. Next Thursday is my birthday. So your man Span will be 40 and shit next week, man. It's crazy, right? Your man Span be 40 years old. You know, I'm closer to motherfucking 50 than I am 20. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, you got that going on. Juneteenth is next week, and I've never celebrated Juneteenth. You know, it's something that hasn't necessarily been recognized across the country. I know it's recognized, you know, more so in the South than it has been in the North, but I think this is something that I'm going to embrace a little bit more, man. I think I might start taking my birthday and the day after my birthday off every year now. I think that just might be a thing, man. Real talk. And also it's been real cool to see so many other companies like just start sort of embracing Juneteenth as a holiday and giving their employees paid days off. I'm just, you know, I just kind of hope the people that, you know, that sign your man Span's checks decide to do the same fucking thing, man. Real talk. That'd be dope. But yeah, man, June 18th, my birthday, I'll be 40 years old. June 19th is Juneteenth. And then this coming Saturday will be the 300th episode of the Span Report Podcast, man. So yeah, man, some real sentimental and meaningful things for your man Span over here at the Span Report Podcast. And you know, we kind of excited about a few things, man. We got some other stuff that's in the works, man. I had a talk with a friend this morning, and we got some shit moving, man. So y'all be on the lookout for some of those things, man. Real talk. But before we get into everything Span Report Podcast, man, of course, I got to let you guys know how to get in touch with us over here at the Span Report. Let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit us up on our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages, and of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us here if you're watching the show live on Facebook and or YouTube, go ahead and call a hotline and chop it up with your man Span while we're doing the show, right? So go ahead, hit up the hotline again, area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at the show at feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. Those emails will get replied to here live on the show. So go ahead and do that, chop it up with your man Span that way. Also, hit us up on our website at www.thespanreport.com. You can go there. You can watch replays of the show. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Span Report Podcast Network, because this shit ain't free, man. It costs money to do this here, man. So we really appreciate everybody who helps contribute in a way to help us keep this ball rolling, man. Real talk. And shout out to our Patreon patrons. Our Patreon patrons are the ones who allow for us to do this show here live in the ways in which we're doing it here on Facebook and YouTube. And so those are the golden circle of the Span Report Podcast. And if you want to help contribute to this effort, man, please donate to our Patreon as well, man. Real talk. So hit us up on our website, www.thespanreport.com. You can go there, do all of those things, and hit up our store, man. We got some merchandise in the store. We got face masks now. I just put up a new shirt, man. Buy Bunker Bitch, because we want to get Trump's punk ass up out of the paint. So go buybunkerbitch.com. Not .com, but hashtag #BuyBunkerBitch2020. Let's get this orange money inside of the paint, man. Real talk. Also, hit us up with a 5-star review on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. It doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you rocking with us over here at the Span Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But yo, man, it's a lot going on out here in the world. Man. And I got a couple random thoughts though before we get into all the shit, man. I got a few random thoughts, just things I was thinking about over the course of the last week, man. Because you know, as I'm wont to do, sometimes I put these things out on Facebook, sometimes I don't, but it is what it is. But first thing I think I was thinking about, man. You know, ever since like the Black Lives Matter movement has, you know, become a thing, and Black people had the audacity to assert that their lives mattered in some way, and then the retort to that has become like all lives matter and everything. it's been real interesting to like kind of watch people go back, like keep falling back into that all lives matter shit, right? And generally speaking, man, like when you talk to somebody who's like racist and or ignorant, one of the first things they'll say when you talk about Black Lives Mattering is, you know, but what about black on black crime? You know what I'm saying? Like, what about black on black crime? Y'all always kill each other, this, that, and other. And I mean, I'm tired of telling people about proximity and shit because, you know, at a certain point, man, people know. You know what I'm saying? People know what they doing when they do that shit, man. They just antagonizing you. They just want to stir some shit, get you pissed off. Meanwhile, they're like, hey, look what I just did with this stupid motherfucker. He goes for it every time, right? But I kind of wonder, right? Because sometimes America presents itself as like this bastion of moral superiority across the world, man. You know, we are like the police of the entire world, man. We got bases all over the world. We got bases in Korea. The Korean War has never officially ended, man. We got bases in Iraq. We've got bases in Germany. We all over the goddamn place. And I sometimes wonder, man, when America starts talking about all of the atrocities and shit that's going on across the planet, whether or not like people like, you know, the Taliban or ISIS be like, but what about American on American crime, man? Like y'all over there killing each other, you know, but y'all fucking with us. You know what I'm saying? I just wonder, like, is that something that like they think to themselves, or is that something that they say and we just don't hear that shit because, you know, we don't hear from them at all? But, you know, that was just something I was thinking about. What about American on American crime, you know? Because America ain't trying to look, like really do that self-reflection, man, because it's too much, man. It's too much. Although there has been a lot of shifting happening over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, man. Real talk. Now, another one of my random thoughts, man. So Candace Owens has been like someone who has been like all over the place, man. People have like her profile has kind of grown quite a bit. Basically because of how ridiculous Candace Owens is by and large. But one of the things that I think is very interesting, man, is that like people forget that there was somebody else out here before Candace Owens was really out here cooning the way that she was cooning, man. And we don't really hear from her much anymore. I think she dropped off of the Twitter streets and stuff, man. But she was out here doing some ridiculousness, man. She was going on black publications, black media outlets, you know, spewing her stupidity, man. And she, you know, always portrayed herself as a victim because, yeah, what she was saying was like some bullshit, but by and large, it sold to white folks. White people were very welcoming to that message that she was putting out. Crystal Wright, better known as GOP black chick, man. Crystal Wright ran so that Candace Owens could fly. You know what I'm saying? Crystal Wright ran so that Candace Owens could fly. And the tripped out part about it is it's almost like what they call it, not Zoolander. What's the shit where it's like there can only be one? Like, help me out. Like, if y'all in the chat room, man, like, help me out. I forget what that reference was, but like, there can only be one. Because right now, there can only be one like black lady coon in like the public space right now. Like, Candace Owens sucks all of the room out of the entire thing, man. Like, it's like she goes so far and beyond, man. Like to the ridiculous points. It's actually kind of amazing, like to kind of watch her, see how far she's stretching, like how far the Stretch Armstrong in her really is, man. Real talk. So, but I'm here to let y'all know there was somebody before Candace Owens, and her name was Crystal Wright, man. Let's not forget Crystal Wright, you know, because she kind of fell off the map. She real did. Another thing too, man. Highlander. Thank you, Horatio. It was the Highlander. There could only be one. Appreciate you, brother. But there was another thing. So I cut my hair this morning, right? Now, of course, y'all know, like I alluded to before, your man Span, he pushing 40, you know, and like my hairline, me and my hairline been having a fight for a long time. And I got pictures of me when I was a kid where I'm like, yo, man, it actually made no sense why my hairline was so far back even then. I didn't have a 4 head, I had a 5 head, man. It wasn't pretty, man. Now, there was some years, man, where, you know, my barbers were working magic, bro. They didn't give me the Beijing and nothing like that, but they're like, yo, my hairline was, they made it look okay. You know what I'm saying? They made it look okay. But so I'm bald now. You know, I shaved this morning. I shaved all that shit off. But my hairline kind of starts back way back here. I ain't taking my hat off. But but my hairline starts way the fuck back here. And one of the things that made me think about, though, was like the names that we give fucked up haircuts. You know, now I'm thinking like it's different depending upon where you are in the country. Right now, here in like the Detroit area, man. If you've got a fucked up haircut, generally speaking, your haircut will be called a Timmy. Now, one of the things I was kind of wondering about, and I put this on Facebook earlier in the week, I was kind of thinking about this, and maybe y'all can help me out with this through some listener feedback and everything else. How did Timmy become the name for a fucked up haircut? You know what I'm saying? Like I've been wondering that. If you have a special name for a fucked up haircut where you are, please let me know. Shower me down with those names, man, because I kind of want to know how did Timmy? Was there like some dude who was like an extreme asshole and his name was Timmy and he came to school with a fucked up haircut as like punishment? Was this like what it was before people started giving like the cul-de-sac haircut to badass kids? You know what I'm saying? Like before we thought it was like, you know, before we really. Now that I'm thinking about it, we always thought it was cool to embarrass our fucking kids for the like for the fucking satisfaction and entertainment of others, man. Our kids have been fucked for a long time, man. Damn. But yeah, I'm still wondering, like, yo, like, how did Timmy become the name of a fucked up haircut, man? That's what I think about. Another thing I was thinking about too. So I'm on Facebook. A lot of you guys, you know, you send me things through Facebook Messenger. You know, a lot of the feedback that I get comes through Facebook Messenger. I don't really read those things because I get a lot of messages on Facebook Messenger. And most of it, you know, is like I try to keep that like kind of personal. So if you're on my Facebook, like, you know, we cool. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing though, for you guys who are sending me shit on Facebook, especially Facebook Messenger, don't send me no damn videos on Facebook Messenger. Real talk. I ain't opening them. I am not opening them. I don't trust it. Man, you know how many times I've seen somebody's Facebook like get hacked because of the fact that they didn't like open up some damn video or some strange link on a Facebook Messenger, and now you get messages from your friend that says it's some embarrassing pictures of you on this site. Do you want to see? Like, nigga, ain't no pictures of me nowhere. Like that kind of shit, man. It's because they clicked on that same silly shit. So I'm gonna tell y'all this right now, man. I love y'all. I really do. I think some of y'all are really fucking dope. But don't send me no damn videos on Facebook Messenger, man. Put that shit on the timeline so I know it's real. Put that shit on the timeline so I know it's real, man. So check this out. You can tag me in the post on your timeline. Don't send that shit to me through no Facebook Messenger, man, because I'm not gonna look at it. I'm being real with you. A lot of y'all have sent me stuff through Facebook Messenger. I can't open that shit, man. I would hope that you would respect the integrity of my account by not sending me a video on Facebook Messenger. Post that shit on your timeline and then maybe tag me in the comments and I'll check it out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I'm not doing that, man. I am not doing that. So yeah, those are my random thoughts, man, for the week. I had a few of them. Felt like I would share. Hopefully some of you guys will hit me back with some feedback, especially about that Timmy shit, man. How did Timmy become like the name for bad haircuts and shit? How did that become a thing, man? Real talk. But I did say we got some listener feedback. So let me get to the listener feedback now. We got some emails here. We got these over the course of the week. Let me okay, so here we go. We got okay, so this here comes from well, I don't know if it's a fellow or a woman, but it says Smoke 104. All right, so Smoke 104 writes in and says, you keep talking about our need to vote for Democrats, but they don't ever do anything for black people. Even when there was a half black president, he did more for gay people than he did for black people. They got the right to marry and everything. What the hell did we get other than some meaningless symbol of some black dude essentially doing what white people told him to do? Y'all can never answer that question. Everybody I present this question to can never answer. What the hell are we voting for if shit is going to remain the same? So, I saw this email earlier in the week, and it sparked a question that I would have for you, right? And this is a question that I would ask of a lot of people who talk about the need for a third party candidate, or why everyone who keeps telling us to go vote are basically essentially telling you to go vote for a Democrat because we're trying to get Donald Trump about the paint. Like, what are we voting for, right? And the last time we had a black president, he didn't do anything for anybody, gay marriage, this, that, and the other. The gays got more rights than we did, right? So I'm gonna tell you, I'm off top, when you start talking about like Obama is the reason why we have gay marriage today, I'm gonna tell you this right now. That was a Supreme Court ruling. Obama didn't do it. That was not something that was the result of Obama passing any legislation whatsoever. Obama did not give you gay marriage. The Supreme Court of the United States gave you gay marriage. Now, the other part about this that I think is very interesting, you said that he did more for gay people than he did for black people. And your example of that was for gay marriage. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it already legal for your black ass to get married? Right? Like isn't that something that you already had the option to do? Like this, and it's something that you take for granted, right? Like you don't even think of it, like how simple it is for someone of a heterosexual living. You don't think how simple it is for you to go about your life, find someone you love, and y'all get married, y'all fill out the paperwork, this, that, and the other, and then for someone to be in a homosexual relationship or a lesbian relationship, however you want to define it, them not being able to have the same level of documentation of their love the way that you do, and then you being upset that they even have the option. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? And so then you start talking about Obama didn't do anything for black folks. And one of the things I kind of think about is, and a lot of it kind of has to do with law enforcement, is the fact that the consent decrees that were coming down from the Justice Department when Eric Holder was running that Justice Department. Now, I want to say when what was her name? Lynch, I believe, was running that Justice Department, and they were running investigations into the police departments of Chicago, of Ferguson, so many different police departments across the country that were involved in extrajudicial killings of black people. I think Baton Rouge had to go through this consent decree thing where they had federal oversight over their policies, over their policing. And in order for them to get federal funding, they had to consent to this level of scrutiny and put in place different policies to curb that level of malfeasance against the community, right? Can you count how many times the Trump administration has entered into a consent decree with any of these police departments across the nation since Trump's been president? It's been 3.5 years now. Can you count one? That's right. It's only been one. He actually didn't put in a consent decree. They actually they investigated a police department. They didn't institute a consent decree, right? And then on top of that, you think about the there's talk about defunding the police. One of the things that Obama did while he was president was divest a lot of the military grade hardware that the police departments are using right now and start taking that shit away from them. Do we really need the police department to have grenade launchers? Does the police department really need a tank? You know what I'm saying? Like all these big giant armored vehicles that you would normally see on the battlefield, that you would normally see in a war field. So what the Obama administration was doing was trying to pull back and rein in a lot of the police departments across the country. Now, the thing is contingent upon who's in the White House at the time. Right now, you don't have anybody in the White House who's willing to listen to anything you fucking saying. Right? Nobody who's willing to listen to your plight. And that's why we tell you to go vote, to get someone at least closer to what it is you saying. Right? So the idea that nothing was happening under Obama is kind of funny. Not only that, you could Google this shit if you really wanted to, though, right? That's the other part about it. While you're saying nobody can really answer that question, the answer probably is in the palm of your hand. You could Google it and find out. I know I Googled it. There's a whole ass website that documents all of the achievements of the Obama administration that directly affected the African-American community. I'm drawing blanks right now because, I'm just drawing a blank, right? I'm just drawing a blank. But I'm saying the information is available to you if you seek it out. And a lot of it is you going to other people here's what a lot of this is. You will go to other people because you assume that they have no idea what it is they're talking about, right? That there's this insidious thing where, especially with black people, and especially with conservatives tend to use this as a talking point that, the black people vote for Democrats. They haven't gotten anything in return. And you're on the Democratic plantation, hearkening back to when Democrats at the time were of the Confederacy, right? Interestingly enough, a lot of Republicans are the ones who are telling you need to preserve these Confederate monuments and these and the stars and bars, and not renaming army bases that are named after Confederate generals. Kind of funny how that works, right? Kind of funny how that works. But the thing is, you don't like the Democratic Party for whatever reason. And I know people who just don't like the party, and they got legitimate reasons why they don't. But as opposed to going where you know you can get the information. You will ask somebody that question because you think they don't know, or you think they're ignorant and that they're voting simply because someone told them to do it, not that they have the political acumen or the astute, or like the where they're not thinking about it, right? They're just doing what they're told. So yeah, man, I would implore you to do what I would do and Google the shit. Right? Do what I would do and Google the shit. Now, I'm gonna just tell you this here right now. I would still implore you to go vote, because as we've seen time and time again, if they didn't want you to, like, if it wasn't important, they wouldn't be like trying to make it so hard for you to do it. So yeah, man, appreciate the email, and I'll talk to you guys, talk to you again soon. We got another email here. This says, I had stopped listening to you for a while. This is from Shaka 1914. Okay. I had stopped listening to you for a while, figured I'd take a break, and at some point you stopped preaching, but here you are still preaching. You goddamn right, nigga. He says, look, dude, we get it. You want us to vote. Are you the same guy? I wonder. But there's no guarantee that we'll vote the way you assume black people will vote for Democrats. It won't amount to much. Y'all keep voting for the same people, getting the same piss poor results. It's a textbook definition of insanity. Black people won't get anywhere with the voting until they actually consider other choices to vote for, like an independent or third party candidate. Until then, keep voting for the lesser of two evils and get nothing. So I got a question for you here now, right? So, lesser of two evils. I'll present this question to you. So if there were a third viable candidate, right, and you were voting for someone, you were voting for that third party candidate, couldn't you consider, especially like they were all kind of unpopular, they all didn't get like a majority, they all didn't get a majority of support in the country. Like, say they all get like 33.3% of the population feels like they get a third of every like group or whatever. But you like this one candidate, or you kind of more aligned with that candidate. Could one say that you too are voting for the lesser of three evils as opposed to the lesser of two evils? See, this is the thing that I think is very interesting, man. Like, I think there's a segment of the population who, yeah, I get it. You might not necessarily like these two candidates, but you have to be politically astute enough to be like, hey, man, he may not necessarily be, or he may not espouse all of the things that I like or all of the things that I'm about, but he's about some of the shit. And I'm more or less going to make the political calculation that I want to get some of the shit that I want as opposed to none of the shit that I want. So I'm going to vote for the person who I think can at least get me some of the shit that I like. Right? That's the calculus that a lot of black people make when they go to the voting booth. Joe Biden is the presumptive Democratic nominee, president of the United States. Was not my first choice at all. Not even in my top 5, but he's the guy right now. So guess what? I would like some of the shit that I like to end up on the agenda. So I would vote for him as opposed to voting for the guy who's not going to listen to a goddamn thing I want at all. That's the calculus. That's how people come to these conclusions when it comes to the realities of being in a two-party system. Now, the other part about the this third party shit, man, and I've said this on this show plenty of times, had you been listening, is this. When it comes to third party candidates, my biggest beef with third party candidates is that they never put in the work on the ground game first. They never there's never like a grassroots thing where there's an organization where they're like city council and county executives and state legislators. Like, they never really set that groundwork to where they got a pool, like they got a qualified pool of candidates to put up when it comes to running for president or running for senator or whatever else, right? And many times they come up, the only time you hear from them is when it's time to run for president. Now, when it's time for them to run for president, guess what? Generally speaking, depending on which way they're leaning, they tend to act as a spoiler for the candidate of that's more mainstream. So Ross Perot is an example of someone who ran and maybe cost George H.W. Bush a second term when he was running for his second term and lost to Bill Clinton. Ross Perot was a third party candidate, tended to lean a bit right, but he siphoned votes off away from George H.W. Bush. We get Bill Clinton as president of the United States because of that, right? Same thing happens on the left, where 2016, as an example, Hillary Clinton, although she did get the popular vote, she won a popular vote by more than 3 million people. There was also Jill Stein in the race, who was siphoning off much more liberal leaning people, siphoning off those votes from Hillary Clinton that probably cost her a couple electoral votes, right? So what tends to happen is they become spoilers because they haven't necessarily put in the groundwork to make it where people look at them as viable candidates. And then you get the extreme folks who are like, yo, I don't like none of this shit. And they just say, fuck it, and write in that vote. They write in that person, or they vote for that third party candidate, or they just say, fuck it all together. And then you end up like not getting anything that you really wanted. Right. So the thing is to listen to the candidates who more closely align with your views. Vote your conscience. I'm never going to tell you not to vote your conscience. Vote your conscience, but at the same time, understand the realities of the political spectrum. Like, yo, these are the two choices you have. One leans this way, one leans that way. Which one's closer to you, right? And if you vote for the person who's more closer to you, then chances are maybe you'll see something that some of the policies and procedures that you would like, as opposed to like not getting shit because the people that's going to like not fuck with you are the ones that end up getting elected, right? So yeah, man, I'm gonna preach about it. Y'all gonna hear about it. Vote. I got the link on the website. Every episode of the Spin Report podcast, in the show notes, there's a link to Voter Pal, so you can go ahead and register to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote, because again, if it wasn't so important for you to vote, they wouldn't be trying to take that power away from you, man. Real talk. So yeah, man, that has been our listener feedback. Those are the emails that I got, but it is time for us to get into the news. All right. Now, our first story here in the news is actually some bad news, as a matter of fact, because apparently COVID-19 is spiking in like 20 states across the country. Yeah, we got video of this. So let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can watch here right along with your man Span. Hold on. Let me do this right here. And here we go. Let's check this out.
The World Health Organization is reporting more worldwide cases Sunday than any day since the pandemic began, as the virus accelerates its spread in the developing world. A new study here in the U.S. concludes shutdown orders prevented 60 million infections. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, is in Phoenix, Arizona, where cases are spiking. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, George. And the cases are spiking here because of a near complete reopening. Now, the two major health systems in this state are telling us that those reopenings, the protests, and a lack of social distancing are creating a combination so fatal that the state's health system is now telling them to activate their emergency plans. And it's not just here. 14 states are now seeing a surge in COVID cases.
This morning, with hard-hit cities like New York finally starting to ease restrictions, 20 other states and Puerto Rico are now reporting increases of COVID cases, and 14 of those states have seen their highest 7-day average of new cases just since June 1st. In Arizona, COVID cases spiking by 34% over the past week, and both hospitalizations and the death toll are soaring.
We are certainly have seen a rise, over the last few weeks. If we started to see a more volume of patients needing acute hospital care, we quickly could be overwhelmed.
Valleywise Health nearing capacity. At Banner Health, the state's largest healthcare system, the number of people on ventilators has quadrupled over the past 3 weeks. And doctors tell us they've now reached their maximum for how they can safely care for patients.
Are you concerned about the current trend?
Very much so. Like I said, Matt, we just want to continue to be able to take care of our community and our sick patients as best we can. But we need our community to help us by being safe and trying to keep themselves healthy, and our nurses and our other staff healthy, so that we can keep doing what we're doing for these patients.
And as
okay, so wait a second. Now, there we go. We're much better. That was embarrassing. Man bust his ass, man. I don't know if y'all saw that. I hope y'all didn't, but it happens. No, but here's the thing, right? So the reason why this is so kind of like scary is the fact that so many people went out for Memorial Day. So many people went out and protested. And this was the things that like when I had Cook on, we were talking about this. This was the thing that like we were concerned about was like people catching COVID-19 because of the close proximity folks were in. When you saw those Memorial Day celebrations, when you saw people protesting, a lot of which, people were not wearing, masks and everything else. And there wasn't a lot of social distancing going on, is that we were worried about that second wave, that possible second wave, people getting relaxed, people having fatigue of having to wear these masks and go through all of the safety protocols and everything. I know I get fatigued of it sometimes while I'm at work. But, the idea that there could be a second wave was always there. And, it's scary because these states have just reopened. A lot of states have just started to reopen, like Michigan just started reopening, like I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. And so, the idea that second wave of COVID-19 coming through, man, is actually a scary one. Because we can go right back. We could end up right back being locked down in the ways in which we don't want to be. And, it just seems like I don't want to go back to that. I really don't want to go back to that. And I just kind of hope that folks would just take the precautions seriously, man, because I think right now what's happening is people are getting very comfortable not adhering to the social distancing and the mask wearing rules and everything. And it may be costing us a second wave coming real soon. So hopefully we can get some level of control over that. But man, it's scary to even think about, man, real talk. But that's in the news. Now, another story that we got here in the news is the Minneapolis City Council then voted to disband its police department.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, man. So let me pull this story up because this is actually kind of interesting in the sense that a lot of people are confused as to what it means to defund the police. So we're going to read the story here. This comes out of Forbes.com. It says the Minneapolis City Council on Sunday voted to disband its police department and invest in community-based public safety programs following calls from activists to defund the police in the wake of George Floyd's death at the hands of Minneapolis police officer. The city council president, Lisa Bender, along with the majority of council members that cannot be vetoed, by Mayor Jacob Frey, announced a plan to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department. We are here because we hear you. We are here today because George Floyd was killed by the Minneapolis police, Bender declared. In Minneapolis and in cities across the United States, it is clear that our existing system of policing and public safety is not keeping our community safe. Our efforts at incremental reform have failed, period, she added. Bender said that the council would start a conversation within the community about the new community-led public safety program will entail. The police department had already lost much of its support from the community, with key partners including Minneapolis Public Schools, the University of Minnesota, and Minneapolis Parks and Recreation severing ties. The move comes as protesters and activists at protests across the country have been calling for their cities to defund the police, declaring to form two piecemeal to achieve the desired results. Now, one of the things that I saw over the course of the week, since this is like kind of been a thing, is like how we talk about defunding the police, right? What does defunding the police actually mean? And if you go a little bit before, like beyond the headline, when you see defund the police, you automatically think that means disbanding the police department, much like they did in Minneapolis. Now, what that will look like in Minneapolis, one doesn't know because they haven't implemented that plan. But generally speaking, when people see the phrasing defund the police, what they think it means is abolish the police, right? And this is something that I think the people who are behind the defund movement are going to have to really, do a much better job of explaining to people, because here's the thing: when people hear defund such, XYZ entity, the first thing that they're thinking about really is, if we take the monies away from these people, they will shrivel up and die and go away. And so that's. And I think a lot of it, you could tie this back into like how right-wing people kind of lean into the defund Planned Parenthood sort of, talking points that they use when they talk about the federal government not sending sending Planned Parenthood any monies so that they can, on the right, they consider all the monies that are going to Planned Parenthood money that fund abortions, and they don't want I don't want my tax dollars paying for anybody's abortion. I don't believe in it, and I don't believe anybody should have access to it. And I'll be goddamned if my money is going to be sent to Planned Parenthood. We need to defund Planned Parenthood. And the thing is, they're saying they want to defund Planned Parenthood. What they're not saying is they want to like get rid of Planned Parenthood, but that's essentially what they mean. And so when people hear defund the police, that kind of thing kind of comes back into people's heads like, yo, so you talking about defunding the police, so therefore are you saying we need to just get rid of policing altogether? Or what that look like? Who I'm gonna call when, you know, some shit going down in the hood? Like I can't depend on Ray and them to just come through because they got the shit, you know what I'm saying? So like people, they have this this idea that when you talk about defunding the police, that it somehow means that like, we getting rid of the police, right? But I think to a large degree, and this is something that, you know, as I've like tried to educate myself on this particular topic, and as I've listened to certain activists talk about it, what they really essentially are saying is that like, no, some of these police departments are overfunded, and that they have an outsized budget compared to you know, how much money we spend on other things, and we can use those dollars in other ways to serve the community. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have an overly aggressive police department, that we don't have a police department that has a goddamn tank that we'll probably never fucking use, that has fucking grenade launchers and shit like that would never probably fucking use. So what they're talking about is, listen, let's take some of these monies that we use, that we give to police, and spread that money out to other areas of public service that will more positively benefit the community, right? So one of the things I was kind of thinking about is like here in Michigan, I'll never forget this, man. Like we had a governor here, Republican governor by the name of John Engler years ago. And John Engler, one of his biggest moves when he was the governor was he defunded, so to speak, or he pulled back funding from a lot of mental health institutions in the state. And what ended up happening was those people who were suffering from mental health issues were where they would normally go to these mental health institutions, where they weren't going to these mental health institutions because the funding wasn't there. So guess where they were going? Some of them became homeless. A lot of them ended up in jail. And we're paying for them because we're housing them in jailing facilities as opposed to treating what's actually wrong with them. Right. And so what hasn't necessarily fallen is how much we pay police officers, or how much we pay to police certain areas. We send a lot of police into certain areas. And here's the other part. Right. And I saw that like a friend of mine, she kind of presented this question on Facebook about defunding the police and what does it mean to, like, say, for instance, take the police out of schools. And, you know, my thinking is this, though, right? I'm thinking like, yo, I would love for there to be more counselors in the schools, right? More counselors who can actually pay attention to what these kids are dealing with, properly diagnose, maybe if there is a mental, if there's a mental health issue, how to properly address this kid, how to address the needs of that child while they're in the school, and maybe that child blossoms because they got the correct attention, they got the correct diagnoses, they got you know, they were led in a direction that properly treated what they were dealing with, right? And so I would love for them to be more funding for that as opposed to the school resource officer. Now, the tripped out part about this is I can remember police officers, I want to say back in, like, I want to go all the way back to like high school. So it was high school when I first had like interactions with police officers in my school outside of the DARE program, where they were telling you how friendly they was. And like, they treated you like, the drugs was like, the drug dealers was going to be like, hey man, you need to smoke this crack, nigga. Like, really, it didn't work like that. Right. Like nigga, you want to smoke this crack or don't you? You know, like, I ain't about to force you to smoke crack sell itself. You know what I'm saying? But, nah, man, it was like you had that interaction with the police, with the DARE program. And then when I got to high school, it was like, yo, man, like the police is just in the building. Like you walking through the metal detector and the police is going through your book bag and shit. And I'll never forget, I got suspended for having a pager. Now, the tripped out part about me having the pager was that it was a pager that my mom gave me because my mom was suffering from breast cancer. And if she had an emergency at the house, she wasn't about to call the fucking office if she can get directly to me. So that's what she did. She gave me a pager. They suspended me from school because I had a pager, because at the time, they kind of thought you had a pager, you was a young dude, you was selling drugs, right? Criminalizing me for just like having a pager, while really it was just like a way for my mom to get in touch with me if something happened to her at the house, right? But we've had police in the schools for so long to where like it's almost as if like the kids have these relationships with these cops where like it's getting you, I want to say like prepared for when they starting to warehouse your ass in the fucking, you know, state prison or federal prison. You know what I'm saying? Like in the ways in which the police would often move, in the ways in which the police would often like interact with the kids. I can remember like being, you know, frisked at fucking school, like just coming to school and like that being the thing. You know what I'm saying? So like, instead of having such a police presence in our children's schools, how about we actually address the needs of those kids on a mental health basis? Like counsel those kids. How about we put money back into the recreational funds where these kids can have after school programs as opposed to paying for the resource officer to just be there? Like these are the things that like you defunding the police means you start putting these monies towards places where these kids can actually benefit from those funds, right? And so that's just one aspect of it. When you start talking about you know, there not being after school programs, or there's just not being any like public facilities where people can go to like kind of blow off steam. You know, there is no like rec center. A lot of the rec centers, especially like I'm just going to speak for like the Detroit area, a lot of the rec centers just aren't open anymore. A lot of the schools are just not open anymore. It's funny that like you've got kids who go to school, can't afford to have lunch. They get lunch debt. And then we've got kids stepping up like, yo, I'm raising money so that we can get these kids lunch debt paid off. And it's fucked up that these kids are the ones who are taking the like, you know, taking the initiative on this. Like, yo, I'm raising monies to have the, you know, so we can pay off the lunch debt. There shouldn't even be a such thing as a fucking lunch debt. We should be feeding these kids. Do we really need the police departments to have a third of the fucking budget and our kids are going hungry? Because the police department also wants to have the latest and greatest fucking tank in their arsenal just to say that they got that motherfucker, just so they can intimidate you when they do roll up on the scene when you're peacefully protesting and they shooting tear gas in the crowd. Right? So the idea of the defunding of the police is basically a reallocation of funds. It's like, all right, man, so yeah, y'all get paid X amount of dollars, this, that, and the third. All fine and good, but listen, some of this money, we're gonna have to start reallocating it to like some of these pork programs that y'all got. Yeah, we're gonna have to get rid of that because this money could be better served if we serve these kids, if we serve the community in different avenues. Like I can't tell you how many libraries in the city of Detroit are no longer open because they don't have the funds in which to open those libraries. Libraries I used to go to when I was unemployed and be going there like to use the computers to look for work. You know, that kind of shit. Or go get a book because I ain't got cable, so I'm reading the motherfucker. All these different things, man, these public services that kind of keep the community as a community. So the defunding of the police doesn't necessarily mean that we're getting rid of the police altogether. And for some communities, it may just mean it may manifest itself in that way. But it doesn't mean that altogether, and it doesn't mean that that's what's happening all across the country when folks are talking about defunding the police. They're basically telling you like, yo, man, these monies that we spend on all of this shit here could probably be better, more better allocated towards these public services that could better serve the needs of the community. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. I want to see more counselors in the schools that directly, address the issues some of these kids are dealing with at home. I want a teacher to be able to go into a classroom and have all of the supplies she needs so that she's not coming out of her own pocket to buy fucking pens and pencils, and parents are having to donate toilet paper and shit to the school because they don't have the school. Like, because we've defunded the education. We've defunded education by and large. Like, yo, it's crazy, like how we don't see that correlation between the escalation of the amount of monies that we pay on policing and the divestment we've had in education, and we've seen the results of it. We've seen the results of it. Now, I know change is scary to a lot of people when you don't know what's going to be on the other side of this, but at a certain point, like, you got to try something, because we've had the police in these schools for a long time now. Like, at a certain point, like, something got to give, man, because I can think back to when I was a freshman in high school, when I had my first interaction with some police at my school in a much more serious way than the DARE program. And here we are fucking 25 years later, and, you know, we getting videos of the school resource officer body slamming kids. We getting news stories of a 5-year-old being handcuffed in the office. We get news stories of a 7-year-old being arrested because she thrown a tantrum. At a certain point, something's got to change about that. And this is where that whole defund the thing, defund the police thing kind of comes from. And I think the wording around it may have to be a little bit worked out, because again, when people hear defund, they're really thinking about the divestment and getting away from, policing altogether, when I don't think that's really what all of these folks mean. But yeah, man, it's definitely something that we should consider. And I think, much more serious consideration should be given from people who right now seem to be like against it, more so because I think they don't understand it really, So yeah, man, I felt like it was important to talk about that. But that's in the news, man. Another story here that we got here in the news is that apparently the dude, Derek Chauvin, the officer who kneeled on the neck of George Floyd, actually knew George Floyd. They had a history, and they did not apparently get along. We got video. There's a story to this. So let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can wait a second. Let me pull that back down. Let me get this ready so we can watch this video together. Hold on just a second, people. All right. So here we go. Check it out, yo.
And as mourners here in Houston honor the life of George Floyd in Minneapolis tonight, CBS News is learning new details about the former police officer charged in his death. A co-worker tells CBS News the two men worked together at a nightclub, and he says they had a history of not getting along. CBS's Jeff Begaze is in Minneapolis tonight with that new reporting. Jeff?
Nora, George Floyd died here, and that's why you still have this massive memorial filling this intersection behind me. And even in the rain, people are coming out to see it. And our reporting today shows that the victim in this case and the officer at the center of the investigation crossed paths in another location too, a nightclub. Tonight, CBS News is learning new information about George Floyd and Derek Chauvin from a man who worked security with both of them at this nightclub in Minneapolis. Co-worker David Penny is breaking his silence, telling us that the two men had a history. What kind of history?
They bumped heads.
How?
It has a lot to do with Derek being extremely aggressive within the club with some of the patrons, which was an issue.
The Floyd family says it believes what happened on May 25th was in part personal. Is there any doubt in your mind that Derek Chauvin knew George Floyd?
No, he knew him.
How well?
Hold on.
We interfaced with officers.
How well did he
Hold on, let me replay this again.
George Floyd. Derek Chauvin knew George Floyd.
No, he knew him.
How well?
We interfaced with officers.
How well did he know him?
I would say pretty well.
Maya Santa Maria, the owner of the now torched club, described how Chauvin treated black patrons when she talked to us for the upcoming CBS News special, Justice for All. Do you think Derek had a problem with black people?
I think he was afraid and intimidated.
By black folks?
Yeah.
As the investigation continues, other cities across the country are considering police reforms. Today, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said that he would support sweeping reform measures in his state, including a ban on police chokeholds.
It's not just a moment to express outrage. It's a moment to do something about it and to make real reform and real change.
City officials here in Minneapolis are discussing the possibility of defunding or dismantling the police department here. But even those who are in support of this idea still don't know exactly what that means at this time. Nora.
All right. So, yeah, this report says that, this, let me pull that down. Yeah, but this report basically says that, man, apparently the officer and George Floyd knew each other. They knew each other from work, this, that, and the other. And that this particular guy who was explaining this story was very adamant about the fact that they knew each other because they interfaced with police while they were working, right? Well, I'm going to tell y'all something right now. Apparently that was a crock of shit because this dude who told us that George Floyd and Derek Chauvin knew each other is changing his goddamn story.
Well, that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
So we're going to get this story here again. This comes out of cbsnews.com. Let me pull this video up so you guys can watch here right along with us as this dude talks about him changing the story. It says, a man who worked at the same club with George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, and previously told CBS News that the two had bumped heads, changed his story Wednesday, saying he had mistaken Floyd for another African-American employee. Do we all look alike, bruh? Do we all look alike? Were you looking for some sort of like notoriety from this shit? It says David Penny told CBS News that he worked at the same club where Chauvin and Floyd were employed to provide part-time security. Chauvin is a former police officer who was charged in Floyd's death. In an interview with CBS News, parts of which aired Tuesday, Penny had described a tense relationship between Chauvin and the man who he said was Floyd, and said that the two knew each other pretty well. On Wednesday, Penny told CBS News in an email he had confused Floyd with someone else. There has been a mix-up between George and another fellow co-worker, he wrote. The club's former owner, Maya Santa Maria, had connected Penny with CBS News. She specifically said she was unable to give detailed information about George because she did not have a close relationship with him as I did, Penny said in the email. He said that led to his mistake. I apologize for not doing my due diligence and placing you in a very uncomfortable situation, he wrote. Penny also has described Chauvin as an extremely aggressive within the club, a characterization he stands by. On June 6th, in a 15-minute long videotape interview with CBS News, Penny described in detail several interactions he recalled between Floyd and Chauvin. Is there any doubt in your mind that Derek Chauvin knew George Floyd? CBS asked Penny. No, he knew him, Penny said. How well did he know him? CBS News asked. I would say pretty well, Penny replied. I knew George on a work basis, he said. We were pretty close. When it came to our security positions, he was in charge, and I worked directly below him as a security advisor. So you don't went from, I knew them pretty well. He knew them pretty well. I worked with George pretty closely, but suddenly, yeah, I got him and some other black dude confused. I'm just gonna say this, man. Like with all of the shit that's going on today, this we don't need this, man. We do not need this. Like I don't know if it's clout chasing. I don't know if it's like, trying to make yourself feel a bit more important or attached to the story, but this kind of shit here really just isn't needed, man. But that's crazy. But that has been our news. But y'all know what time it is.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
All right, and our first story here in Blue Blazes is so the police, man, they feel a little attacked, y'all. The police is feeling a little attacked, especially in New York, man. There's a police officer in New York. Well, actually, a few police officers in Detroit. As a matter of fact, from the look of this picture, it's like a few hundred of these motherfuckers that are upset with the way the police are being portrayed in the media and how they're being treated by the public. So we get this story here. This comes out of, let me see, what is this? This is CNS News. Okay, I never heard of this site, but they got video of this union boss, Mike O'Mara, who's the president of the New York State Police Benevolent Association, and he's got something to say about how the media is portraying the police and how the public is treating them. So let me go ahead and pull the video up so y'all can watch right here along with your boy. Let's see what he's talking about, y'all.
This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it, and so do theirs. So do theirs.
That's it.
Stop treating us like animals and thugs and start treating us with some respect.
You mean like what the protesters are asking y'all to do to the public? Is that what you mean? Like, stop treating us like animals and thugs. Treat us like people. Treat us with a little bit of respect. And maybe this won't be so contentious. We won't be like this. We won't be. Is that what you mean? Because I'm just saying.
That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified.
Man, like, but you ain't dead though. Like, you ain't dead, right? Like, how many of the people that have been killed at the hands of the police end up getting vilified afterwards, right? So George Floyd is a thug. As a matter of fact, this is what Candace Owens is out here preaching right now. George Floyd was a thug. How dare y'all try to put this man up as a hero? Oh man, who was another one? Trayvon Martin. Oh, Trayvon Martin smoked weed. How dare y'all try to elevate this kid when he was a thug? He smoked weed. Mike Brown was a strong arm robber. Like, well, how dare y'all try to elevate this dude? Like, and they don't get to tell their story because they dead. they did. So you left out of the story. Yeah, I mean, I get it a little bit because, you know, I would be angry too, but you ain't dead. You get to go in front of like TV cameras with microphones and bitch with a bunch of what appears to be a bunch of other white dudes who are upset that y'all getting back some of what y'all putting out.
It's disgusting.
It is.
It's disgusting. Trying to make us embarrassed of our profession. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive. Nobody talks about all the police officers that were killed in the last week in the United States of America, and there were a number of them. We don't condone Minneapolis. We roundly reject what he did as disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not what we do.
Is it now? Is it? So he's in New York. Interesting. Like he's talking about like what happened in Minneapolis. They don't have shit to do with them. I remember Eric Garner being choked out by New York City police officers. Daniel Pantaleo in particular choking out Eric Garner as Eric Garner told that man he couldn't breathe. I remember New York City Police Department officers wearing "I Can Breathe" shirts as they demonstrated against the protesters during that time. But you talk about your badge still having its shine because what happened in Minneapolis didn't happen in New York. What about Amadou Diallo? You know what I'm saying? The African immigrant who was in New York at the time, who was gunned down getting his wallet. Y'all shot at that man, what was it, 41 times? Something like that, 41 times. Turned out that man had a wallet. Didn't have a gun. Y'all like 41 rounds. Unarmed black man shot down by New York City Police Department. Oh shit. Then there was like Sean Bell celebrating his marriage. Y'all shot at that man 50 times. Like that's 2 unarmed black people that y'all shot at, unleashing about at least 90 rounds. 90 fucking rounds at 2 unarmed black people, and you're standing here in front of these cameras, in front of these microphones, indignant that the people that you've been unleashing this sort of shit on have the audacity to call you out on it. Man, fuck you. Fuck you. How dare we put back on you what you've been putting out into the world? Like, he's indignant. That's the tripped out part about all of it. He's indignant. Like, imagine this man has probably been subject to this treatment for maybe 2 weeks now. He's already on the brink of a goddamn nervous breakdown. He's upset and he can't take this shit no more. Well, goddamn it, try walking around in my shoes, man. It's been damn near 40 years and we deal with this sort of shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to we built a little different, baby. You know, we kind of used to this kind of bullshit. So much so that we almost joke about it half the time to keep from crying. Meanwhile, you stand in front of a fucking police, like you stand in front of the Police Benevolent Association headquarters with a whole bunch of white police officers behind you. I don't see not one fucking black face behind you. And there are black police officers too. Now, one black police officer behind this motherfucker as he goes on his diatribe about how he's being treated. Man, fuck you, dude. Oh, man.
It's not what police officers do.
Obviously it is.
Our legislators abandoned us. The press is vilifying us. Well, you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a cop. And I'm going to continue to be proud to be a cop until the day I retire. And that's all I have to say.
All right. So, yeah, that's what he had to say. He's upset, man. The police is upset that we are treating them the way they wish they treat niggas. Like, I don't know what you want to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell it. But yeah, man, I was in Blue Blazers, man. They're mad that they're getting treated like animals and thugs, which is exactly how they police black areas across the country, man. That's crazy. Now, another story here that's in Blue Blazers, man, is Candace Owens. We talked about Candace Owens a little bit earlier, but Candace Owens has actually had a GoFundMe campaign suspended because she's been out here promoting hate, y'all. So we're gonna read this story here. Where does this story come from with Candace Owens, man? Where do we get this from? This comes out of businessinsider.com. It says that GoFundMe suspended conservative activist Candace Owens from its platform on Sunday after she raised more than $200,000 for an Alabama business whose co-owner called George Floyd a thug. In a statement on Sunday, GoFundMe accused Owens of making falsehoods against the Black community, according to the Daily Beast. However, the more than $200,000 that was raised for the Parkside Cafe in Birmingham, Alabama, will still be transferred to the bar. GoFundMe has suspended the account associated with Candace Owens, and the GoFundMe campaign has been removed because of a repeated pattern of inflammatory statements that spread hate, discrimination, intolerance, and falsehoods against the Black community at a time of profound national crisis. These actions violate our terms of service, the company said in a statement. Owens, who is Black, responded to the campaign being canceled in a tweet, writing, "She is angry that such a blatant form of discrimination is acceptable by GoFundMe. There was nothing intolerant or violent about raising funds to help a conservative business owner." The Parkside Cafe became the center of controversy last week when an employee shared a text sent by co-owner Michael Dykes, in which he threatened to hike up prices as part of a protest tax. "We should go up on $1 or $2 on everything until June 10th. Call it a protest tax because of all the idiots that went to the protest are responsible for us not being able to open normal hours. Any employees that went or are going to resign. Mr. Floyd was a thug, didn't deserve to die, but honoring the thug is irresponsible." So here's the thing, and there's this thing, as indignant as this fucking police officer was, there's this thing where white people have to, or not even just white people, bad people have to justify the bad things that happen to you so they don't feel bad about what happened to you, right? Never mind that whatever, even if what you're saying is true, right? Even if George Floyd was a criminal, even if George Floyd had been in trouble with the law, does that justify what happened to George Floyd? No. And so the people are protesting against the act of what happened to George Floyd because, yeah, it may, you think he may deserve it, but what happens when someone who doesn't deserve it has that happen to them, right? So you have to make it out like, well, because of these prior bad acts, what happened to him on this particular instance was deserved because of these prior bad acts, supposedly. And Candace Owens being, of the mindset of like, well, if I can make these white folks feel comfortable, so they're going to keep paying me. So I'm going to say whatever ridiculous fucking thing I need to in order to get these people to continue to pay me because this is my hustle. This is how I get paid. I say inflammatory things against Black people. It's a novelty because I'm Black, and white people love Black people who say bad things about Black people because it gives them license to also say bad things about Black people. And they can point to me to say, see, she believes this shit too. Right? So the idea that a fundraiser needed to be had for this motherfucker, like obviously, you have an antagonistic view towards the public. You have an antagonistic view towards people who want social change. You have an antagonistic view towards people who don't think that what happened to George Floyd should have happened. Then if they decide they don't know, they no longer want to patronize your establishment, then that is their right, correct? This is like that whole thing about like these private businesses and shit. Like they want it both ways. Like they want to like not serve certain people. Like like the whole thing about not baking cakes for gay couples and stuff like that. But then they also want to be seen as a victim when people like, oh, that's wrong. We're not going to patronize your business anymore. So now they're the victim in this thing when they initiated the entire thing. Right? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But yo, man, GoFundMe suspended the shit, but they still gave the bar the money. So it's almost kind of a wash, but that's in Blue Blazes. Another story here that was kind of like a bombshell here in Blue Blazes, man, is fucking NASCAR has decided that they are going to ban the Confederate flag and not only their property, like not only the races, but at all they fucking properties, man.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
Yeah, man. So we're going to read this story here. This comes out of NBCnews.com. As a matter of fact, is there a video to this? Because yes, there is. There is video. So let me go ahead and pull the video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Span. Here we go. Okay, let's act like we're trying to do some shit today. Oh snap! They gonna play a goddamn commercial. Ain't that about a bitch?
I've been using this.
Can I mute the commercial at least?
When the world gets complicated, a lot goes through your mind.
Well, goddamn, man, I'm gonna just go ahead and talk all over this shit, man, because I don't appreciate this shit, man. I should be able to at least make a motherfucking commercial, man. I don't appreciate this at all, bro. Like, this is bullshit, man. This is bullshit. I hate that. All right.
He's going to lay the bumper to Jimmy Johnson.
For the first time in its 72-year history, NASCAR saw something new at the Martinsville Speedway. A stock car bearing the hashtag Black Lives Matter, driven by number 43, Bubba Wallace.
It's true, Black lives do matter. It's not that we're saying no other lives matter. We were trying to say that Black lives matter too.
Wallace, the Cup Series' only full-time black driver, igniting a conversation and then a sea change.
So it starts with Confederate flags. Get them out of here. They have no place for them.
The Confederate flag, a fixture in NASCAR Southern culture for decades, now no longer permitted a place in the sport. NASCAR announcing the flag runs contrary to our commitment to providing a welcoming and inclusive environment for all fans, and is now prohibited from all NASCAR events and properties effective immediately. On a racetrack where drivers chase a checkered flag, NASCAR's dealt with a checkered past. Less than 2 months ago, driver Kyle Larson was fired by his racing team for using a racial slur.
We talked about
that one hit home because it was inside of our sport. And that one didn't directly target me, but indirectly pulled me in, and I'm right there.
Wallace crediting that episode and the killing of Ahmaud Arbery with springing him into action.
Of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor,
Ahmaud Arbery, and countless others in the black community are heartbreaking.
Are heartbreaking and can no longer be ignored.
Now joined by some of driving's most recognizable names, from Dale Earnhardt Jr. to Jimmy Johnson, exerting their energy for change.
I've been in this sport for a long time, and I believe this sport is full of really, really good people. I don't know a driver out there that doesn't want to treat people the way they want to be treated.
Our sport must do better. Our country must do better.
NASCAR President Steve Phelps offering these words and 30 seconds of silence Sunday. And now, on the hood of Wallace's repainted car, this image with the words compassion, love, and understanding below it. A message he hopes will resonate far beneath the surface.
All right, Sam. Wow, it's really historic.
All right, so check this out. Big thing with NASCAR going ahead and getting rid of the Confederate flag at their properties and everything, right? And it's big because, like, I don't know anybody who thought it would ever happen because of the culture around NASCAR, because of the fan base that NASCAR has cultivated over their last, I want to say they said 72, 73 years they've been an entity or whatever, a sport. Like, it's been synonymous with going to a NASCAR race, man, to see Confederate flags all over the place. Here's the thing. And I've been talking about this. I've been kind of thinking about this over the course of the last few days, man, because, and I talked about this when I think we talked about this with Cook when Cook was on. It's like there is a something feels different about this particular time in America. Something feels different. Now, I don't know how long this feeling is going to be here. But something's different. And I say that because we're seeing a lot of people who before would have held vastly different views come around on the things that we have been trying to explain to people for a long fucking time, right? Like, when you talk to people about the Confederate flag and what that flag represents to black people, and you have people who will come back to you and reply to you that, well, it's about Southern heritage, it has nothing to do with slavery, when, like, and you can go back into the history as to, the Articles of Secession by the Confederate States when they were seceding from the Union. You can go into the states' right argument that a lot of them try to use because it was about states' rights, and it was like really about the states' rights to have slaves. You could talk to them about the lost cause, like the reimagining of why that war happened and how that war happened and all these things, and how it re-educated a people to believe something that was entirely false about why the Confederacy came to be, how it came to be, and why they were fighting, and all these different things, right? And the Confederate flag has been one of those things where it's like a symbol of that. It has been an enduring symbol of that, where people are using that to say, well, this is about my heritage. And it goes all the way back into these Confederate monuments and these statues and everything else. So for NASCAR at this particular point to change up and say, no, that is not allowed here, that is not welcome here, something's different. Something's different happening in this nation. And I don't like, and I'm wondering if is it a combination of the coronavirus, of how terrible Donald Trump has been handling that particular crises, the level of the protest, the violence, some would say, that came with the protest. I wonder how that has contributed to this in a way that people weren't really finding it, or they weren't really recognizing it before. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things that are happening right now where things just feel different, right? You can take this to like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle came out with what was that, 824, a new special. It wasn't necessarily like a comedy special, it was more like a monologue where he was talking about what happened with George Floyd, and he tied it into John Crawford and Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin, and everything Dave Chappelle was saying in that damn thing. I'm like, yo, I agree with all this shit, right? And I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, damn, like, just last year though, Dave Chappelle was a fucking hero on the right. Now, that's not to say that Dave Chappelle sought to become a hero on the right, but Dave Chappelle was seen as a hero on the right because of his views on, I don't even know, are they his views or like it was a just joke? I don't know. But the jokes that he was making about the transgender community, right? And his doubling down on his right to make these transgender jokes, despite the fact that the transgender community had issues with those jokes, that a lot of people of the LGBTQ spectrum had issues with those jokes. And so he doubled down on it, and it was disappointing to a lot of people on the left. It was liberating, and he was hailed as a hero on the right, ironically, by Candace Owens, who he assailed in this particular fucking special, right? So it's been interesting to see how the repositioning of things are starting to happen. Like, you got Rush Limbaugh going on the Breakfast Club and acting as though he gives a fuck about what happened to George Floyd, when Rush Limbaugh was on his own radio show talking about how what happened to Eric Garner wasn't a chokehold, and that like the New York City Police Department wasn't responsible for what had happened to Eric Garner. Eric Garner shouldn't have been out there selling loose cigarettes, blaming Eric Garner for his own death. When you look at the NFL deciding that they're going to apologize to their players for how they handled the kneeling demonstrations and saying that they were wrong for not listening and not handling that better. And they still have yet to mention Colin Kaepernick, but we know who that apology is really for. Now, will Colin Kaepernick come back and get a job within the NFL? I kind of highly doubt it, because I really do believe that Colin Kaepernick at this point probably doesn't want to play football anymore. He's more viable as a symbol than anything else, right? I don't think he's going to come back. But the fact that the NFL has come around to say, yo, we fucked up, something is different here. There's a shift that is happening. And I kind of wonder, like, how long this shift is going to actually take hold and take place. And like, is this just a fleeting thing because of all of the, like, these things that we're dealing with right now, right? Is this going to be an enduring thing, or just for a moment? And so NASCAR banning the Confederate flag feels like, yo, this is a part of that moment. Like, yo, we got to be on the right side of this, because at a certain point, we're going to look back on this time, and like the 2020s are going to be looked back on, and people are going to, like, our kids are going to study this, and they're going to be like, well, and they're going to ask us, not only our kids, but grandkids too. They're going to ask us, so granddaddy, grandpa, grandma, like, how did you feel about all this craziness that was going on back in 2020? And you're going to have to answer to them now, because here's the other part about it. We romanticize a lot of the things that happened when we were younger. We romanticize our music. We romanticize like some of the abuses that we took. Like, you know, my mama used to whoop my ass with a cable cord. You know, we used to stand on the wall and get our head, you know, with our noses to the wall for like 7 hours. You know, I used to get hit across the knuckles with a wooden hanger. You know, we romanticize that shit. Like, it made me a better person. I wouldn't be here today if you hadn't done it. That was abuse, but like we kind of like look at it as though that was the shit that's supposed to be done. But we romanticize it now. We romanticize those things in large part because those things weren't necessarily documented. They just kind of like passed down through our recollections. And, you know, we kind of put a rosy look on a lot of those different things. Because we want to remember those times as better than they probably actually were, right? And that's how you get people who will look back on, like, you know, I kind of bristle at the term Chirac. Like, I'm from Chicago. I bristle at that term Chirac because it's not any fucking worse than it was when I was a kid. But you listen to some people right now who would tell you that like Chicago is so fucking bad. Like, man, you should have been in the 90s. Right? You should have been in, if you think this is bad, you should have been there in the 90s, because we'll romanticize it. We'll act as though these kids are much worse than we were. Right? So these kids are going, like, we got social media now, and these things are documented. People are telling on themselves every day. You got status updates, you got tweets. People are going live while they're performing fucking crimes even. We are documenting our every fucking move. And so, you know, people want to be able to have it documented that, yeah, these things were going on, but this is where I was when it was happening. You know what I'm saying? This is where I was. You know, I was with the people, you know, power to the people, this, that, and the other. When at a certain point, you probably really wasn't all the way. You know what I'm saying? You probably wasn't all the way. It wasn't until it got popular for you to do so that you became, you know, you jumped on that bandwagon. And that's okay. You like, that's the other part about it. Is leaving room for people to change their minds about shit. Because trust and believe, there have been people who have left me room to change my mind about a lot of shit. People have given me a lot of grace to like kind of grow as a man and as a human being. And so we got to kind of leave room for those people to do those things, to like kind of grow into and gain a bit more knowledge about a subject, to change your mind. There's nothing wrong with changing your mind once you get more information. And so I kind of wonder, is this what this is that people are coming into more information, and because of this information that they're coming into, they're changing their minds. Now, again, I mean, it can be a bit frustrating when you're like, yo, man, I've been saying this shit for 6 years, bro. Like, what the fuck? Right? It took 3 more people dying. It took a goddamn pandemic for you to finally get here. But at a certain point, you got to be like, well, fuck it, you here now. You know, like, let's keep it moving, you know? But yeah, man, NASCAR changing the Confederate flag, or getting rid of the Confederate flag, man, that's big. That is fucking big. And my brother is calling me. What the fuck? Hold on a second, people. All right, that was like quicker than I thought it would be. But yo, so yeah, that happened in Blue Blazers. Now, the other thing that happened in Blue Blazers is there was a NASCAR driver. There was a NASCAR driver who was so upset at the fact that NASCAR decided they were going to get rid of the Confederate flag, and he said, fuck it, he's leaving fucking NASCAR, man. Matter of fact, as a matter of fact, this is so apropos.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks, don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. All right then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
All right, so Ray Ciccarelli.
Who?
Yeah.
Who? Who?
Yeah. Ray Ciccarelli is a driver in the NASCAR Truck Series. He's decided that he's going to like leave NASCAR because they got rid of the Confederate flag. So we're going to read this story here. This comes out of the sportingnews.com. It says that Ray Ciccarelli announced the end of his NASCAR Truck Series career with a furious Facebook post on Wednesday, shortly after NASCAR banned Confederate flags from all events. Ciccarelli, who's 50, has participated in 18 Truck Series races over the past 4 years, though none in 2020. He has finished in the top 10 once, at number 9, placing at the Michigan International Speedway last year. Well, it's been a fun ride and a dream come true, but if this is the direction NASCAR is headed, we will not participate after the 2020 season is over. Ciccarelli announced in a Facebook post, all misspellings are his own. I don't believe in kneeling during anthem nor taking people right to fly whatever flag they love. I can care less about the Confederate flag, but there are people that do, and it doesn't make them a racist. All you're doing is fucking one group to cater to another. Listen, man, again, that comes with the knowledge and the history. If you're one who is knowledgeable about the history of that fucking symbol, then there's no way in hell that you would find yourself comfortable with saying, well, if they gonna take the flag away, then goddamn it, I'm gonna leave my goddamn career. Like, at a certain point, you are representing racism. You are representing hate. And that's what that symbol represents for a lot of people. And it's actually what it represented to the people who originated the goddamn symbol in the first place. So, it says Ciccarelli went on to decry what he said was the insertion of political BS in NASCAR, a sport with traditionally conservative roots. It's been a significant week for NASCAR in terms of addressing racism in its own ranks. In addition to the Confederate flag ban, it has voiced support for the Black Lives Matter movement, and on Wednesday saw driver Bubba Wallace compete in a custom car meant to advocate for racial equality. Clearly, though, not everyone is in the sport is willing to accept the shift. Now, the other interesting thing about this is like this. You know how much of a loser you got to be where the only thing you are known for when it comes to NASCAR is you quitting? Right? This is the highlight of his fucking notoriety in NASCAR, whatever NASCAR got going on. Nobody knew who the fuck Ray Ciccarelli was before he came out to say he was against the damn Confederate flag banishment. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody gave a damn who he was. And real talk, it's like, so here's the other part. All right. This is thing that people do. Especially like on social media, man. You ever been in like on Facebook and somebody comes on Facebook and they say, well, you know, because of the immature conversations that are happening here, I find myself struggling to have intellectual conversations with people. And because I'm having that struggle, I feel like it's important for me to like move on to another platform where I can have intellectual discussions with like-minded individuals. Therefore, I am leaving Facebook effective today. This, that, and the other. Like, they make this grandiose fucking announcement that they're leaving Facebook, right? Everybody got to know that they leaving. When real talk, all you got to do is just fucking leave, man. Nobody cares, bro. Nobody cares. You can leave today. Like, yo, if you deactivate your Facebook, there's gonna be a few people who be like, damn, I wonder whatever happened to such and such. But it's gonna be a few days. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I wonder whatever happened to such and such. They're gonna look for you and then they ain't gonna find like, oh, well, damn. And then they're gonna go right on about their business. Then you're gonna pop up because this is what happens. A lot of times when people quit Facebook, it's because it's like there's that cry for attention. And it's almost like a grown-up running away from home somewhat. You know what I'm saying? It's like running away from home a little bit. Like, you want that cry for attention. You want people to be looking for you. You want people to be concerned about you. This, that, and the other. Where right now, this dude, he leaving NASCAR. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody gave a damn. The only fucking notoriety he got is to announce his leaving. And even then, the notoriety he's getting is the notoriety of being mocked all across the country. Even NASCAR supposedly. So NASCAR supposedly responded to a tweet from this guy. And I went to go check the authenticity of this because I saw it like kind of floating around. That guy didn't have he didn't have a Twitter account. And I don't know if he like deleted it or what, but he didn't have a Twitter account. And I didn't see the tweet from the NASCAR official account. So I don't know how real that tweet was about NASCAR roasting him as he was leaving out the door. But yo, man, like you are a loser of the grandest sort. When the thing you're most known for is quitting when nobody knew who the fuck you was, man. That's crazy. But that is that's in Blue Blazers. Now, we got another story here. And this right here is kind of other like lose your job variety. It's kind of the lose your job variety, man. So we pulled this up. This story here, this comes out of New Jersey. Let me pull this story up. Let me do this here. Let me do this here. Where is it? Here we go. Is there a video attached to this? No, there isn't video attached to this, but we get the story here. This comes out of CBSPhilly.com. It says a New Jersey corrections officer caught on camera mocking George Floyd's death during the Black Lives Matter protest. Oh, shit, there is video attached to this. Let me go ahead and pull this video up so I can stop reading. Hold on, y'all. Check this out. Here we go. Let's see what he's talking about. Whoops, wrong one.
During a black Governor Murphy is condemning the actions by a New Jersey corrections officer and another man caught on camera mocking George Floyd's death during a Black Lives Matter protest. This cell phone video was taken during a Black Lives Matter rally yesterday in Franklinville, Gloucester County. You see a man kneeling on another man, the group yelling at the demonstrators as they marched by. The New Jersey Department of Corrections released a statement on Twitter. It reads, in part, "We have been made aware that one of our officers participated in the filming of a hateful and disappointing video that mocked the killing of George Floyd. The individual has been suspended from their post and banned from New Jersey Department of Corrections facilities pending a thorough and expedited investigation."
So, of course, y'all know. All right, about to lose his job, man. But there's another person. There's another person out here who's acting the goddamn fool, man. We get this story here. This comes out of rawstory.com. As a matter of fact, this woman her name is Jacqueline Michelle DeLuca. And she got fired from Party City because she went to Facebook Live to start talking shit. We get this story, like I said, this comes out of Raw Story. She says she got fired from a job at Party City this week after she posted a video of herself saying that all Black Lives Matter protests should be killed. Business Insider reports that DeLuca posted a video of herself driving in a car and disparaging black people. As a matter of fact, I did the due diligence of going ahead and trying to find that video. And I think I do have that video. Let's see what this chick was actually talking about. Wait a minute. Where'd he go? Well, I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle. Hold on a second. Let me pull this video up, man. Let's see what's going on here. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Party City. Let's see. That's it. Party City. Okay. Here she go. Let me pull this up so y'all can watch right along with me. All right. Let's see what she's talking about.
This is why, folks, I don't like motherfucking black people. I fucking hate black people, bro.
Some emphasis on
you know why?
Fucking black people.
Just now, a fucking nigger ran the fucking stoplight and looked at me like it was my motherfucking fault. Fuck all you Black Lives Matter fucking people. I don't give a fuck. Because y'all niggas want to make it seem like it's our fault or the white man or whatever the fuck it is. Bro, like I don't give a fuck. Kill them all, bro. Kill them the fuck all.
All right. that's the thing, man. That's in Blue Blazers. But yo, y'all know what time it is here now, though, right?
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's right. It's proud to be an American time here at the Spin Report Podcast, and that's enough of that bullshit, right? But our first story here, proud to be an American, is Trump, man. Trump is in proud to be an American. Y'all know this kind of damn near like his segment and shit. But Trump is like telling he wants to get out here and do political rallies, right? He wants to have these political rallies. He's feeling like he can't talk to his people. His Twitter account is too limited, man. He wants to be able to get out here and talk to the people. But here's the thing, though. COVID is a thing, and COVID ain't going nowhere. So COVID is out here like, yo, man, listen, you can go ahead and have these damn what's-the-names. That don't mean you can have these gatherings, but that don't mean that I'm leaving. That don't mean that I'm not going to fuck with your people, too. You know what I'm saying? So you can go ahead and have them, but, you know, I'm going to be around. You know, so Trump knowing this is just like, all right, fuck it then. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that the people who come see me can't sue me if they get the coronavirus. God damn! So we get this story here. This comes out of CBSNews.com. It says Trump supporters who attend his first rally since the coronavirus pandemic caused the suspension of large public events must agree not to hold President Trump and other parties responsible if they contract COVID-19 at the gathering of thousands. The president is set to hold his first rally since March next week at the Bach Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, an arena that seats more than 19,000 people. The president has emphasized he wants his rallies full of people and has made his distaste for masks clear. By clicking register below, you are acknowledging that an inherent risk of exposure to COVID-19 exists in any public place where people are present. The campaign website says on the RSVP page for the rally, by attending the rally, you and any guest voluntarily assume all risks related to exposure to COVID-19 and agree not to hold Donald J. Trump for president, Inc., Bach Center, ASM Global, or any other affiliate directors, officers, employees, agents, contractors, and volunteers liable for any illness or injury. Tulsa's mayor said the city is still working on details for the rally, which would violate the Centers for Disease Control social distancing guidelines. Now, here's the other thing that I think is really fucked up and selfish about what's going on with the president and how he's handling these things, right? So, yeah, I come to town and I draw a lot of people. They're going to be in this concentrated space. COVID-19 might be in the air. We leave here, go to another city, and 2 weeks later, there's a spike in COVID-19 cases in Tulsa as a result of my rally in Tulsa. But y'all can't hold me accountable for that. And I just left y'all with a goddamn epidemic in your own city, one in which y'all may have the resources to combat, or you may not have the resources to combat. All because I want to get up on a fucking stage and tell y'all how great I am and how y'all should let me keep my job so I can keep my ass out of jail. But that's the thing though, is that this dude is so fucking self-absorbed that he would be willing to put his own supporters' lives on the line just so he can stand up there to tell them how great he was. Like, that's what this is what we're dealing with here with Donald Trump, man. Like, this guy has absolutely no self-awareness, sort of like that Mike O'Mara dude in New York. No level of self-awareness, or you know what? I don't even know if we can say he doesn't have the level of self-awareness. I just think he doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And it goes back to the whole idea, like, we need to open the country back up, not because of the economy. No, it's like, yo, if we lose some old people, then fuck it. If we lose some black people, then fuck it. Because here's the thing. Ultimately, once they saw that black and brown folks were bearing the brunt of the coronavirus outbreak, the pandemic, that's when they were really pushing for this idea of reopening the country. Because they didn't feel like it was happening to them in large enough numbers to where they felt like it would affect them to stop some of the things. So like, oh, are we really gonna like stop the economy and shut down the country because a bunch of niggas and some Hispanic people are getting fucked up by this? Nah, man, go ahead and turn the damn plant back on. We good. Go ahead and make them trucks again. You know? So yeah, man. That's I'm proud to be an American. Now, also, while we're still talking about Donald Trump's punk ass, Donald Trump is also he's just rolled back protections of the LGBTQ community in healthcare. So we get this story here. This comes out of Politico.com. It says that advocates panned the new rules, which were released on the 4th anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting. It says the Trump administration on Friday formally rolled back an Obama-era policy that protected LGBTQ patients from discrimination and required robust language translation services, unnerving health experts who worry vulnerable populations will face further risks during the COVID-19 pandemic. It says the move, long sought by some of President Donald Trump's supporters in the conservative Christian community, is the latest effort by Trump to mobilize his religious base amid criticism over his handling of the coronavirus outbreak and the recent protest over the death of George Floyd in police custody. The new Trump administration rules reverse an Obama policy that banned healthcare providers from discriminating against transgender patients and women seeking abortions. The Obama administration had issued the first-time protections for LGBTQ patients under a non-discrimination clause in the Affordable Care Act, citing concerns from advocates these patients had a harder time accessing necessary care. The Trump administration overhaul, which had been years in the making, came against warnings from healthcare groups that the rollback could make it easier for hospitals and healthcare workers to discriminate against patients based on their gender or sexual orientation. It also was panned by advocates who noted that the rule was released on the 4-year anniversary of the mass shooting that at a gay nightclub in Orlando, where 49 people were killed and dozens more injured. These actions demonstrate how little this administration values the life, health, and safety of LGBTQ people, says Sharita Gruberg of the Center for American Progress. It's even more of a disgrace to do so on the anniversary of the deadliest attack on the LGBT community in U.S. history. So check this out, man. The cruelty is the point. This is why they do a lot of the shit that they do. The other part about it I think is very interesting about this is that the idea this is done under the idea that like his Christian evangelical base is pushing a lot of this, right? And one has to wonder whether or not you really believe that's something that Jesus would do. Jesus was one who showed, he found himself amongst those who many would consider less than. Jesus was not one who, just kind of like sat around the religious elite at the time. As a matter of fact, he challenged the religious elite to a point where they killed him because he challenged their authority, he challenged their position, and he challenged their theology. They killed him. So the irony in them using the Bible and using the religion in which to like exert these level of these policies is cruel and unusual punishment for people whom they deem as less than. And this is why, like, I think it's very important that, like, even as Black folks, because I know a lot of Black folks bristle at the idea of comparing the LGBTQ struggle to the Black struggle and what have you. But this is the thing, is like standing by as any injustice happens to anybody is fucking stupid, especially considering the fact that we know what those injustices look like when they were meted upon us. So why then would we want those things to happen to anybody else? And if they can happen to anybody else, guess what? That does not mean that we can't have it also happen to us again. Right? So this is why when I see Black folks like kind of having this visceral reaction when you start bringing up the LGBTQ fight for equality, that it's like, yo, man, like, if anybody should understand this shit, we should, right? And why would we allow for that to happen to someone? Because that's not our fight, especially when we're going to need allies when it comes to the shit that we want. You never get anything done by yourself. Not by yourself, not on these scales. So yeah, man. Trump being a dick, man, and like this is just one of the it's another thing, man. Like, take your ass to them polls in November, man. Take your ass to them polls in November. Like, it's so much shit happening because this president is kind of like unhinged to a point, right? So, yeah, man, that's in Proud to Be an American. Now, some halfway good news that's in Proud to Be an American, man, because supposedly Mississippi is thinking about taking the stars and bars out of his goddamn state flag. No, for real. That's supposed to happen. Let me go ahead and read this story, man. This comes out of where we get this from. This comes out of The Hill. It comes out of thehill.com. It says a bipartisan group. Can you believe that? A bipartisan group of Mississippi lawmakers are drafting a resolution this week to take the Confederate battle emblem off of the state's flag, Mississippi Today reported. The draft being developed by roughly a dozen Republican and Democratic lawmakers would be the first legislative push to change the state flag since residents voted nearly 2-1 to keep the current flag in 2001. Mississippi's flag, which was adapted in 1894 by all white lawmakers, is the last remaining state to include the Confederate emblem. Mississippi Speaker Philip Gunn reportedly told lawmakers that he would back a suspension resolution to adopt a new flag, and roughly 30 Republican members verbally supported it. 2/3 of the 120 state House members would need to vote in favor of suspending the rules to consider the change. It would then need to move through the typical legislative process by a majority vote before moving to the state Senate. If the bill passed through both chambers, it would be up to Governor Tate Reeves to sign. Reeves, however, on Monday said that voters should decide on the issue instead of lawmakers. So I just tell you right now, as much as we were just getting excited about that shit, I also remembered it is Mississippi, right? It is Mississippi. And so, yeah, they would say they would be for it. But yeah, we got all these, we're going to put these, barriers in place to, like, you know, say it's feasible, but we doubt very seriously if we really take this any seriously than we are right now. Like, this is about we're going to talk about it because this is the time to talk about it. We want to be seen as on the right side of this, but at the same time, we ain't really going to do shit. So yeah, man, but that's what it is. But that's the end of Proud to be in America, y'all.
That I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Yeah, that's enough of that shit, but y'all know what time it is.
The champ is here! 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 The champ is here!
All right, our champ of the week this week here in the Spin Report podcast is none other than Detroit area donators, man. Detroit area donators. Now, the reason I say it's Detroit area donators is because there was a story that I saw on fox2detroit.com earlier in the week. There was a father who had bought a home. He bought a fixer-upper. He had 5 kids. He bought a fixer-upper, and he lost that home due to a fire. Fire burned down the house. He had a van next to the house that had a lot of supplies in it that helped him, kind of refurbish the house, rehab the house, and he lost everything, man. They lost everything, and Detroit people came together, and they showed up and showed out for this brother, man. They got $400,000 in donations. $400,000 in donations for this brother in less than 24 hours. Let me see if I can pull this video up because I thought I had it saved, but apparently the shit didn't save to my pocket. So let me see if I can pull this up for you guys as my computer starts dragging ass. Like, what the fuck, yo? Suddenly we act like we can't do shit today. All right. Because I know there's video attached to this. I want to make sure that you guys get a chance to see this video too. Because I when I saw this brother, man, I was heartbroken for him when I saw this story. So let me pull this up so y'all can watch right along here with me, man. Because it's dope that the city of Detroit and people around the city of Detroit came through for this father and his family in this way, man. So let me go ahead and play this video for you.
How are you feeling right now? Fighting back tears once again.
I'm very grateful, very humble.
32-year-old father of 5, Roderick Reynolds of Detroit, can't believe how defeated he felt just 24 hours ago.
I was just, devastated, standing in front of nothing.
Reynolds getting a call early Thursday morning that the home he'd been working to fix up day and night for the last several months had burned. Reynolds, an independent contractor, also losing his work truck. His family dog was also still inside. This was Reynolds Thursday.
It's devastating for me, but I mean, I'm a big boy, so I'm gonna just keep on pushing.
But Reynolds' longtime friend contacting Fox 2 and his friends and family creating a GoFundMe page to hopefully get the hardworking father some help. And you all came through. $187,000 raised in just 7 hours.
Oh man, God works in mysterious ways, man. That's a blessing, man. It's just a blessing to see it, honestly.
Now the donation page hitting over $400,000. Donations coming from more than 16,000 people across Detroit, Michigan, the country, and even the world.
In under 24 hours, house can be replaced, then some. I'm trying not to cry this time, I'm very happy tears today. Yeah, everything is happy tears now.
While the Detroit Fire Department still tries to determine the cause of the raging blaze, Reynolds says despite all of that work, he can now move on thanks to all of you.
I just can't believe so many people cared this much to support me. I'm nobody.
Still believing in the city he calls home, Reynolds already looking for a new house Friday. And although the money won't replace his beloved pet or his memories, Reynolds planning to use it to invest in a city he loves and help those who need it more than he does.
Every penny, every dollar, every cent, all added up, it all counted. I'm gonna make sure that my family is taken care of, and then I'm gonna give back and make sure that other families are taken care of.
So many of you have also reached out to help Roderick's children. We have information on their ages and genders and a way to contact Roderick at fox2detroit.com. I'm Erica Erickson, Fox 2 News.
All right. So yeah, man. Y'all showed up and showed out for that family, man. Showed out for that brother. And I was so happy to see that story, man. Because like I said, to see that story Thursday on the news, man, I was heartbroken for that brother, and to see how quickly that story changed for him, and how big people came through for that family, man. I just thought that it would have been apropos, and especially in times like these, to highlight a story as great as that one, man. So like, shout out to everybody who donate to that family to help them get back on their feet and to find themselves a home, man. Real talk. That was dope, man. I ain't got no more words for it, man. That was nice. That was nice, man, for real. But man, it's almost time for me to get on up out of here. But of course, before we do that, of course, I got to let you guys know how to get in touch with us over here at the Spare Report Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up at the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to it kind. And if you're watching us here live on Facebook and or YouTube, you can chop it up with your man Span here live and call in the show live, man. So hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thesparereport.com. That's feedback@thesparereport.com. Leave us those emails. And of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live on the show as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Span. So you can go ahead, follow me there, chop it up with your man Span throughout the week. You can hit up our website at www.thespanreport.com. Go there, watch replays of the show. You can vote in the polls when we decide to put those polls up. You can leave comments on the website. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Spare Report Podcast Network. You can also hit up our Patreon, man, and donate to our Patreon. Help us do this continuously on YouTube and or Facebook as we do the show live here and bring you the podcast in a live format, right? So we really do appreciate everybody who does that on with the golden circle of the Spare Report Podcast Network as a Patreon patron, man. Real talk. Also, hit us up on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio with a 5-star review. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everyone who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple of minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Spare Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. But I've been running my mouth for a little while here now, man, almost 2 hours. So my voice is tired, and I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.